From Provo, Utah, this is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweiss. This is Ultima Final Fantasy. Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. I am Joe.
I am Caleb.
And today we're going to be talking about Genji equipment, Genji armor. You might remember those from such games as almost every single Final Fantasy game in the series. Now, we were going to do Kingsglaive today.
Yeah.
But are you crying?
No. Why?
I see a tear drop.
No, I yawned.
Oh, okay. All right. We were going to
You're fucking the show, okay? I get emotional.
We were going to do an episode on Kingsglaive Final Fantasy XV this week, but I'm going to put that off. I wanted to watch it a second time, and I really tried to watch it a second time last night.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my internet was being shitty. There's no direct download that I could find for the PS4 movies because I was trying to get it off of Caleb's account. And
is it really only streaming for?
That's
pretty crappy. Like I back on the PS3, I bought an episode of Robot Chicken or something like that, and it's on my on my PS3. It's on my PSP. I can watch it whenever I want.
If I was able to download it, then I would have this thing done. But all I could find were options for streaming.
Wow, and your internet was too bad at the time.
And my internet just could not handle it.
Jeez, dude.
So I'll have to watch Kingsglaive probably over here again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
so otherwise, I wanted to get like a bigger, fuller picture of Kingsglaive.
Right. There's a lot of lore that gets tossed about nonchalantly in that movie. So the second watch,
it's not just lore, but there's a shitload of stuff going on in the movie. Like just a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I want to be able to like know what I'm talking about when I do a plot overview or something like that.
Yeah.
And be able to point out more things than just my first, casual watch.
Yeah, I get that. Where are you in Final Fantasy XI?
In 11, we finished Shantotto Ascension.
Yeah.
Both of us.
The Shantottification is over.
Yes. And working on Kupo Data, which hopefully will take... I guess that'll probably take another week, and then...
Yeah, there's some mining we have to do. Some mining and some axing and stuff. So it's kind of a farm quest, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
That's probably going to be a lot easier than the grinding for the crafting earlier, I'm hoping. But
oh my gosh.
It says it just randomly drops it.
Have we talked about this on the show yet? What we had to do in Shantotto Ascension?
No.
Okay. No, we wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Here's what we found out about Shantotto Ascension. In order to get a certain quest popped, we needed a certain item.
Right.
An item that could only be made by...
You.
Yeah,
it was account exclusive, so this is like a rare EX drop, essentially, but you have to craft it.
Yep.
Now, the problem with having to craft it was some of the items that we had to craft into this item, so the first tier crafting stuff was not available at the time on the marketplace, and it required us to have leveled up our woodworking, our alchemy. There was one other one that you did. What was the one you did? Leatherwork. And now, so we started off grinding out the alchemy levels because we knew we needed that to make the final product and also one other item. So it's like, okay, we're going to need alchemy. Let's both grind out alchemy.
I want to say first, like, crafting had been a complete and utter mystery to me.
Yeah, I had no... Oh, yeah.
I kept going to those synergy pots when we were stuck before, and I was like, something needs to happen. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, no, it's in the menu. There's like...
It's the fucking main menu for crafting. You don't go anywhere like you do for everything else in Final Fantasy XI.
It's weird.
It's something your character just does.
Yeah, you just can craft on the spot, and I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. But I didn't know. I had no idea what that tab was.
And my God, everything on the internet it just assumes that you know.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, these are the ingredients in order to bring up your thing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
where
typed
do I
in,
go?
I typed in, like, how do I craft? Where do I go to craft? And then it's just guides.
Do I go?
But it's
Dumb.
it's just wherever you are. So that was something
Fucking Christ.
that we had to find out.
It's like, we could have... I guess, like, it would have been painful because you do have to grind those things out and it takes a little while. But at least you know how to do it now.
Yeah.
Before, when crafting was like this gigantic mystery of hell, I assume it had something to do with the synergy pots, but that's synergy, and that's not crafting, apparently. It's a different sort of crafting.
Right.
So this is synthesis, and that one's synergy, right?
Yeah, that's the difference between the two.
Fucking stupid. We could have. I mean, we had an item that we had to get to like level 49 something like alchemy in order to grind.
We probably could have done some.
It was either in wings or seekers.
Yeah,
and
you fucking got lucky in seekers because there was one item that it was a random between 5 items that you needed, and mine was the one that you had to craft. And I was like, fuck, no. So I had to find some dude and like, hey, do you craft? Hey, do you craft? For like an hour, I'm just this douche screaming under the
craft,
server.
bro?
Yeah, no, I seriously started saying that. Like, eventually, I got more responses that way too.
No.
Yeah, I was like, you craft, bro? No, man, I don't craft.
Anyway, Caleb figured it out, and then we both got on, and divided and conquered, and then Krinital got on later,
and then just bought it. He bought the stuff and had his alchemy up high enough. So that sucks because I would have bought some of them. But honestly, once we figured out how to quickly grind through the levels for crafting, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Quotes.
Yeah, quickly in quotes.
If we had to go to like level 50, it would have been a pain in the dick.
Oh yeah, that would have taken all day. Yeah. All day, no doubt. I would have just been sitting there just hitting that key.
But we would have done it had we known how to do it last time we got stuck.
Yeah, and I wish we had the foresight to just go through and be like, okay, you know what? Let's all just, everyone, me, you, Krinital, we all look at all the expansions, everything that lies ahead, and we look for bullshit that we can like grind out when we're waiting for a next day or a such and such thing in Final Fantasy XI, and then that would have saved us this because...
If only one of us had the superpower of future hindsight.
Yeah, Captain Hindsight is the man we need. That would have been awesome because there were so many times where I just logged off for a little while and I had blocked out this 4-hour chunk of time to play 11 or the 11-hour marathon that got cut short because of the impermators. I would have been crafting had I known, but I didn't.
It's fucking stupid, dude.
I didn't look ahead. Plus, that was back when we were just trying to be the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast and not do the add-on scenarios for 11.
That's good. Thanks for bringing up our business card again.
Yeah.
The ultimate Final Fantasy podcast.
It's a deep pull.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, we're going to be starting the second one. I went in and I actually ground out a couple of the items. And, well, one of them. And I'm in the area for the second one. And the third one's the one we have to go to a new zone for. So I'm going to leave that one for last. But
at least it's a lot of doing.
Yeah, instead of a lot of sitting.
Yeah, instead of a lot of like cutscenes.
Yeah, that's true. These are actually pretty quest heavy.
Yeah,
and that's fun. And there was one in
not
Shantotto.
the crafting part, but the quests where you have to like go get something.
Yeah, there was one in Shantotto where we had to go take pictures, which I thought was kind of cool. We like found enemies in the field and we like took a photograph of them.
Yeah, if you didn't have to restart that quest, I'm sure it was pretty cool.
You had to restart it?
Oh yeah.
Why?
Because I died in that battle when you couldn't have trusts.
Oh.
I died.
Oh, wow.
I like barely died, but I died. And then I had to do that quest line again.
Oh, geez, that sucks.
Without you opening the doors. So I had to get those items.
Oh, geez.
In order to get to the certain sections of the cave. And then I took the pictures again.
I did not know that happened to you.
I just decided to save it for the show.
All right, that's fair.
It's it hurts. It just hurts a little bit. In fact, it brings a tear to your eye. So I see now.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting emotional. I felt the pain. From across the way.
Oh man. Oh boy. You know what we have today, Schweiss?
What's that?
We got some news, but first let's do some plugs. You can go to youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can see our live episodes there once they're exported, and you can also check out some Let's Play videos and all that other stuff. You can go to facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy and talk with us there if you want. Twitter, I'm at Joseph DeGollier.
I am at UFF Podcast.
Twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy is where we stream the episodes live every Saturday
Yes,
morning.
occasionally with the wrong episode description, as I realized as I'm sitting here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it probably still says we're playing FF11.
Oh, I'm sure there's some people going like, what the fuck? This is not FF11.
Probably, but we're there, so fuck it.
And, UltimaFinalFantasy.com is where you go for everything. There's a contact page there if you want to ask us questions through that. Or there's a forum, an awesome forum. Please join, ask questions, talk about Final Fantasy, or there's a whole bunch of other sections to talk about whatever you want with our community.
It's very true. It's a good place. Good place.
And let's see, Patreon.
Yeah, we got a few donors this week. We'll announce those at the end of the show.
Yep.
The new people. We owe another guy an episode.
Oh, sweet.
At the beginning of next month. So looking forward to that. Hopefully it doesn't take like forever. Some people, but it's cool. It's cool, guys. You don't have to do it. It's just we love them. So love to hear you guys' Final Fantasy stories and whatnot. And yeah,
Let's get to the news. News. All right, so I know what you guys are waiting for, and we're gonna save it for the end of the news section. But our first piece of news is that we have footage from Final Fantasy XV, A King's Tale, that has been released, in which King Regis is, I guess, beating up bad guys. And we'll play a few seconds of that so that me and Schweiss get a taste of it.
All right. A little bit of that flavor. Okay. All right, so there he is. Killing some people. He just looks like Noctis. I guess the hair is a little bit different. What the fuck? Oh, it's giving you tips.
That's interesting. So I guess it's the beginning, like 4 minutes of the game. And it looks like an old side scroller beat 'em up sort of a thing, like Double Dragon or anything in that realm.
Yeah, I think it looks kind of fun. It'd be something to...
It does look like fun, and I think it's on our playlist soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always adding games, aren't you, Square?
They definitely are. They love it. They love it to death.
All right. Our next bit of news is that Nomura was interviewed about the Final Fantasy VII remake. And do you want to read that quote there about the battle system?
Yeah, so he says, the battle system in Final Fantasy VII Remake is also vastly different from the original game. So I think we need to communicate very clearly just how exactly battles will work. We're currently in the middle of elevating various aspects up to finished quality.
So pretty much the same thing that we've heard. It's going to be a
nothing.
totally different game, and they're keeping their mouths shut about it.
I think we need to communicate very clearly about this, but we're not going to say anything about this.
It sounds like politics.
Yeah, or just Square. Every time.
There was also a making of video sort of teaser thing that was released. It is in Japanese. I don't know if it'll be watchable, but there's some behind the scenes footage of some of the people, I believe, doing some scouting for Final Fantasy 15.
Scouting?
Yeah, where they go to locations to get a
feel for animals.
Get a feel for things.
All right, let's check it out. Guy going down into a hole. I know that sounds hot, but it's not.
No, they're in a cave.
Some spelunking. Oh, there's a bat. Okay. Yeah, that part in 15, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to do that. Just sliding around in a cave.
I'd be freaking out if a whole bunch of bats started flying at me.
I would probably just use
them.
Then
I'd become the Batman.
Yeah, I would just use them to travel. Why is this silent?
I don't know. I don't know why the sound went away. But
there just is no sound.
Yeah, so basically you see the artist kind of going into nature and wildlife stuff, and then it cuts back to the Final Fantasy 15 gameplay that reflects that.
Yeah,
I don't know how the little python it represents the Leviathan, but that was just something we just saw.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they got a little tiger messing around with their car, and like, all right, we'll make Behemoth like this. They're climbing a mountain here.
Yeah, they're bouldering.
And yeah, I guess these artists have never seen wildlife before. I don't know. Or maybe they just wanted like some more behind the scenes footage
Oh
to
my
throw at us.
God, they're cooking in order. Oh my God.
All right, so these people aren't actual people that are doing these things. They've never done anything in their lives. Oh, what is this?
Okay, we need to cook in order to know what cooking is like, so that we can make the game.
Yeah.
I think that's just. I think that is just a trip for employees that they got out of that they convinced someone in the company to spend money on.
Probably, yeah.
That's what that looks like.
Yeah, that food looks amazing. By the way,
does.
there's some
Really
great pork going on. All right, so they're making some of the recipes that are in game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so these people learn how to cook, go outside, and we got a little video out of it with no sound.
That's awesome. All right, we need to get sound up before that Final Fantasy XIV.
I think the sound is
thing. Is it off?
No, it's fine. There was just no sound on that video.
That's really weird. Okay.
Yeah.
We also have a Game Informer.
Oh, shit. They dropped? Oh, it's World of Final Fantasy.
World of Final Fantasy.
That is not what you said earlier. You said Final Fantasy 15.
I didn't say the game. That's probably what happened.
Okay. So there's been a leak for a review for World of Final Fantasy. I thought you said FF15. And when you said it had an 8.25, I was afraid. I was like, oh, no. That is not enough. A full numbered Final Fantasy sitting at 8.25, that is a bad sign. Because they normally just blow you to the end of the world when it comes to ratings in Game Informer for a big game. It doesn't matter if it's actually a 10. If it's going to make them a lot of money, it's suddenly a 10.
Well, I don't know if this was a leak or if it's already out, but someone posted this somewhere saying that it was going to get an 8.25. It says, the concept returned to a traditional RPG format while revisiting our favorite parts of Final Fantasy history. Graphics, the toy-like visual style looks great and it captures the essence of the familiar monsters. Sound, I was happy to hear the returning characters' voice actors reprise their roles. That's cool. The new version of old musical themes are also great. Playability, exploration, and combat works fine, but sitting through multiple screens to compare monster abilities and see their effects on your stack is a hassle.
My stack.
Read what they say about story there.
The story is awful, but the fun of collecting monsters along with a flood of fan service makes that narrative worth enduring, and the replay value they have listed as moderate.
Yeah, so this was kind of an overview of what the review is, I guess.
Yeah. Take that as you will, I suppose.
I didn't expect it to be like a big thing.
No, I mean, it's probably going to be fun, and it sounds like that's something that we'll at least enjoy playing, even if the story is cringeworthy and makes us turn our brains off. So,
the biggest news of all, Schweiss.
The biggest news of all. Final Fantasy XIV's Halloween. Yeah, All Saints Wake, baby. So as we all know, every year around fall time, we get a sweet Halloween event in Final Fantasy XIV. It is returning. It begins October 19th at 1 o'clock a.m. and concludes Tuesday, November 1st at almost 8 a.m., oddly. So yeah, you'll need to have gotten at least level 15 and have completed the quest. It's probably pirates. And then you can speak to an NPC at the following location. It's X 10.4, Y 8.5, and Old Gridania.
Of course.
I think that's the same
that's the same
spot
place
as last year.
For everything.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in that, go hit it up. There's going to be little items for it, gear, a minion, more stuff.
Does sound pretty awesome. We did the last one.
It was fun, yeah. I like the little events they do. I mean, I'm not going to go pay for 14 to do it, but I do enjoy them.
All right, there's some other little minor Final Fantasy XIV news as well.
Yeah, it's
like a little throwaway.
Yeah, I guess they're coming out with a new thing. I don't know. There's a trailer for it. I guess we can watch that.
Okay. Hopefully there's sound. Okay.
All right, so we got some mist, waterfall. Looks like Lord of the Rings-esque.
It is.
Oh, there's Boromir on the boat coming down the waterfall.
Real up and close and personal with the statue.
Oh, it's got Square Enix on the mountain. That's cool. Square Enix Mountain.
And there's a Coleman.
Yeah, there's a Coleman grill. I see it. It's on his eye. Okay, so we have a girl in red. It looks very reminiscent of Terra. Dancing around. Dancing, huh?
Huh. Dancing.
Oh, man. There needs to be more boob jiggle, but all right.
It's not Mortal Kombat, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, she's fighting with a dude.
What does she have against him? He was just sitting down doing nothing.
I don't know. Maybe it's the PvP zone. There is no sitting down. Only death. All right, so they're duking it out here. No abilities or anything yet. He looks kind of monkish, honestly, with that punch. Oh, Jurassic Park reference.
Yeah.
Water shaking. Looks like Alamigo here. With the turbines on.
There's apparently a city above, or like a temple or something.
In the one area that has water. Uh-oh. Stormblood, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, so we got a new expansion. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, early
That's
summer
pretty cool,
2017.
Schweiss.
It is. You know what? Honestly, I think...
Get out of there.
Yeah, get that Mr. Happy shit out. I think that we're actually going to be in the game around this time. If my projections are accurate. We might have 2 expansions to go through, which is good because that's what we had last time. We had the original 2.0 storyline and then the second stuff.
Like the in-between?
Yeah. So maybe we'll have even more. I don't know, though. This one won't be a completely fleshed out deal. Once we get to it, it'll just have the initial zone.
Yeah, I'd never seen that trailer before right now. It's definitely not as cool of a trailer.
Oh, no way.
Heavensward.
Heavensward trailer was like beat off worthy. That thing was awesome when we were there.
I love Kung Fu that's not CGI Kung Fu. Like, CGI Kung Fu is uninteresting to me. Real Kung Fu, and I say real in quotes because I'm not stupid. Real Kung Fu is really what gets my stuff rolling. So
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was an okay trailer. I'm definitely excited. Obviously, it's the Red Mage and the Monk.
The Monk is probably going to be the big one.
Okay.
It's the focus. Kind of like how Dragoon was the thing in Heavensward. You know, it was like
that
big
makes
time
sense.
Dragoon in the trailer. We haven't played Heavensward, so we don't really know, but we just based on what we've seen. But the Red Mage wasn't actually officially announced, I guess. He was just wearing a Scarlet Witch shirt, and it sort of teased it.
Okay.
And we remember what happened with the Heavensward thing, where he came out wearing a Batman shirt, and it was the Dark Knight job.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're like, I don't know, it's kind of awkward when he does this. Like, it's weird to me. He's like, oh, look at the shirt, you know, and
I
he's
was
got
like,
this
is
shirt
Batman
on.
going to be in the game?
Yeah, I'm like,
so
is this,
confused.
what is this, like the greatest game ever now? Like, you got the Batman licensing? Are you kidding me right now? This is
And
sweet.
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Yeah, no, giant Mickey. But no, he was wearing that, and then apparently a 007 one early on that was the machinist class. So this is a constant thing with Yoshi P, and I think Red Mage would be cool. I don't really know what their place in the world would be. Like, I was thinking maybe uncapped dungeons, but like, how often do you really need to do that? I don't know.
Anyway, there's been a good amount of information released for the new Final Fantasy XIV expansion. We'll get into that another time. It looks like, level cap has been raised, and
yeah, of
things like
course,
that.
standard stuff for your MMO expansions. And Alamigo is the new zone that you'll be exploring, so look forward to that. And hopefully we get to that soon.
Hopefully.
And you know, honestly, if we go based on what we've been doing, we're gonna go to it anyway. Like,
Yeah.
Because we did the 11 stuff, like once this thing is released, even if we just barely finished Heavensward like a month prior,
we have to play it.
We go back to 14's thing, so I'm looking forward to some new classes.
It's a new world for the show.
Yeah, it is. It's strange. A whole new world.
Some new releases.
Yeah. It's depending, of course, but yeah, that is a good point that you brought up right there. New stuff, new things we get to play now. Like
not
up to this point, nothing.
If they're a sequel to one of the main games or an expansion, then we have to go back and play.
Or 15, obviously, is going to be a new game. But so far, we've been playing stuff that's been out for like ever.
Yeah,
for like eons almost for some of them, and now we're getting into new stuff that we can like have a fresh look on, and someone will be interested in what we say because it hasn't already been said.
I think we will hit Lightning Returns in a few months, and that'll be something kind of new. Rhapsodies was only out last year.
That's true. Yeah, Rhapsodies ended at near the end of last year, so that's new content
there
essentially.
You go.
So
okay, well, I finished the first volume of Tale of Genji, so we're gonna talk about Genji. Let's get into it.
All right. And by get into it, he means sit back.
I mean, stop for a second for the stream. Woo!
Sorry, guys, I forgot to update it. We're obviously not playing Final Fantasy XI at the moment. Thank you for following Penguin Mage 93. I appreciate it. We do a weekly FF podcast and also stream the games occasionally when I'm feeling like it, which has been pretty consistent. Honestly, there's a shitload of streamage, so look forward to that, and maybe next time we'll have the name of the video actually correct.
There you go.
I think it says Shantotto something right now, which we did complete and we discussed, but for a moment.
We did discuss Final Fantasy XI.
It's true. That's enough. That's all we need. I'm naming this one FF11 Shantotto.
Okay. Going to start it now. So this is kind of like one of those mythic origins of the whatevers.
Oh.
You know, we haven't done one of those in a while. But there is an armor set, an equipment set that is very common in a lot of the Final Fantasy games, and it's the Genji equipment. It can be found in the Dawn of Souls version of 1 and 2, FF1 and 2, then 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 2, FF Tactics, and many more spin-offs all have equipment that is called Genji equipment. Now, Genji sounds, I have nothing to back this up. It sounds like it could possibly be a very common Japanese name, and they just call it the Genji equipment. Who knows? There might have been someone in the staff of one of the original games whose name was Genji. But what is more likely, and given the fact that there are, so many references to old literature and myth throughout a lot of these Final Fantasy games, they are likely based upon a really old-ass book called The Tale of Genji.
Probably.
So The Tale of Genji was an 11th century novel written by, or they think most of it was written by, Murasaki Shikibu around the peak of the Heian period in Japan. Now, the Heian period was a time period in Japan running from 794 AD to 1185 AD. So this book took place right in the middle of it. And Tale of Genji is considered a high point of Japanese, not Tale of Genji. The Heian period is considered a high point of Japanese history. It was a time when a lot of Buddhism, Taoism, and a lot of Chinese culture was being imported into Japan. So there's a lot of cultural and artistic significance with this period, and Tale of Genji is kind of the story. Tale of Genji is kind of the cornerstone of that. So the book takes place in the High Court of Japan and provides almost unparalleled perspective into the lifestyle and culture of these Heian period people. But it's only the Heian period elites. These are the people who were surrounding the emperor, and they had all the power. And it's mostly kind of about it's about court life, basically. And I can tell you, there's not a single poor person in this book.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So they know a lot about how the high class people lived back then because of this book, and then another book was written called like the Pillow Book, which was someone's journal.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
I'm sure it is.
I think that was later renamed to the Kama Sutra.
No.
The Pillow Book.
I don't know if those dates line up. I have not looked it up, though. And this book is argued as the world's first novel.
Okay.
By many people. Now, a lot of people, think that's bullshit and that there's other things that could be considered novels. I remember when I said that was the world's first novel to you, you were like, what about these other things? There's things like the Epic of Gilgamesh that is really old.
Yeah.
And, Odyssey and Iliad.
I guess it depends on what you're using to define novel. I mean, novel has a bunch of different meanings.
This is a very large book.
That is novel.
It's prose.
If it's
new,
new,
not poetry. Even though it has a lot of poetry in it. I will say it's much like Lord of the Rings, only the poetry is much more interesting than Lord of the Rings poetry.
Yeah.
Much more, beautifully written, at least beautifully translated. And it's, I don't know, man. It's an interesting book. It's an interesting book. Do you ever think you're going to read this thing?
I don't know.
It's huge.
Well, that doesn't bother me.
So I do have a note here that says it was really fucking long, and I only read 1/6 of it, and it took me 3 years to finish that 1/6 of the book. I could only read like a page or two at a time. It is dense, and the version I have, which was translated by Arthur Whaley, I believe, very small print, and it's drudgery to get through. I remember on one documentary I saw someone suggested that the book was twice as long as War and Peace, which is one of the world's biggest books. And when me and you were looking up the world's biggest books the other day, just for fun, I guess, because you said Atlas Shrugged wasn't that long, and I'm like, Atlas Shrugged is very long. And then we looked it up, and it's like, oh, it's fucking huge.
Yeah, I was thinking Fountainhead, I think.
Yeah, Genji is one of the longest books in the English language version of it, at least, that there's ever been written, as far as word count is concerned. There's over 400 characters in all, and believe it or not, with the language and culture of this Heian period high court, it's almost as if, like, they didn't name any of the characters. You were supposed to just know who the character was by the context of how it was written in the book. So modern translations, including modern translations into modern Japanese, they've named the characters.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so...
But do they do the Russian literature thing where everyone's named Nikolai, and sometimes they call him Nikolai, and sometimes they call him by their last name, and then sometimes they call people who aren't even Nikolai, and you're trying to read it, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
What book are you referencing? I've never read Russian literature.
There's been a couple. I can't remember I think it's like Fathers and Sons. Oh god, it does that, and then it does that in other Leo Tolstoy books where there's just everyone's name is Nikolai, and you're like expected to know which one's which.
Oh my god!
And they go by nicknames, or sometimes they'll call the son by the father's name, and I'm like, why? Why would you do that? No one's gonna come up to me and be like, hey, Scott. I'm like, what? Oh, sorry, I was just calling you by your father's name. I'm like, no, don't do that. I am not that. I am me. Okay. Anyway, so that's good. They translated.
I'll add some confusion to it. Believe it or not, it was written in a court language that was only used by these aristocrats and was unreadable, like to most Japanese people 100 years after it was written.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it was a dead language, essentially.
It was a dead language.
Dead dialect. No one even spoke it or read it.
It was written in the same like Japanese characters. I think women at the time could only write in hiragana. They weren't allowed to write in what is kanji. I'm not even sure if kanji was around then. But so it's readable, but it's not readable.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like a totally different language almost, and was commonly read in sort of an illustrated or an annotated version until a modern translation was made in the 20th century by Akiko Yosano, who I guess was a Japanese poet. So I'm gonna do a real brief plot overview of this thing, and then I'll talk about why it's important and what I thought about it. So it recounts the life of this aristocrat named Hikaru Genji, which is the son of the Japanese emperor at the time, and he spends his life in affairs that leave him empty and ultimately unfulfilled. He has an affair with one of the emperor's new wives, who apparently looks like his mother. That's like a big deal. And then he finds this little girl who apparently looks like his mother and raises her to be his future wife.
Okay.
It's
Man, Freud would have loved this guy.
So him and the emperor's new wife, they conceive an illegitimate son, which the emperor believes is his son.
Oh,
and
nice.
Genji feels guilty for it his entire life, and that son does eventually become the emperor. There's some other hotties at the court, and he kind of has affairs with those women as well. And of course, this girl that he kidnaps basically and raises as his own. When she comes of age, which it didn't seem like it was that long from when he kidnapped her. This was in the first volume. It was not that long from when he kidnapped her to the point in which he rapes her. So now in the book, it's like written as if it's like, oh, well, it's her natural time to be preyed upon by what she considered to be her father at this point.
Okay.
So that's fucked up, first off. And eventually he marries her later in the book.
That's good. That's the honorable thing to do.
Yeah. His first wife, Aoi, in Volume 1, is killed by the jealous spirit of a living person, by the way, of another of Genji's lovers.
The spirit?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And basically, it's a book filled with poetry and contemplation in between the torrid affairs.
Let's see. So it has nothing to do with the Genji armor then?
Nothing.
Okay. That's good.
But it has a lot to do with Japanese culture. A lot of scholars and authors have called Genji a masterpiece, believe it or not. Even the Arthur Whaley translation as a masterpiece, which is the version I read, citing its psychological complexity, which is not something that was normal for the time, even in Western literature in the 11th century AD, and it had unparalleled characterization, so really rich characters for what it was. And even the Nobel Prize-winning Japanese novelist, this name, Yasunari Kawabata, called it the greatest Japanese novel ever, and that there will be nothing that will ever surpass it.
Wow.
Basically. And some have noted the effect on the tale of Genji that it's had on Japanese culture, and there's actually a John Green video, the history videos that he puts out. Crash Course World History. There's a Japanese Heian period video on that, and if you want to learn more, there's a lot there. Genji himself signifying the ideal man who, of course, raises this daughter that he's kidnapped and then eventually rapes her. Most of the connections I've seen, though, in my very limited view, have been aesthetic. It definitely does feel very Japanese. And there was another quote by another scholar that I read before that was like, no matter where you slice Japanese culture, it always returns to Genji. And I thought that was a very interesting kind of look at it. Now, I don't know enough about Japanese culture, about Japanese art to really judge whether or not that is in fact true, that everything artistic comes out of Japanese culture. But what I can assume is that there is the same sort of parallel with Tale of Genji as there is in our Western English culture with Shakespeare.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So there's a lot of references in our art and even in our lives that reference back to Shakespeare. And maybe there's something similar with this Genji thing. And the Genji armor, the Genji equipment, it's all referencing this thing that is very, very central to Japanese culture. The Genji equipment in Final Fantasy IX, especially from what I remember, was exceptionally good equipment to have. And it's almost like this is the ideal equipment for your character, and this is the ultimate piece of literature from Japan.
Yeah, so it's kind of fitting that it's the ultimate set of armor as well.
Yeah,
which it usually is.
So, I mean, if you guys are interested in reading Tale of Genji, there's like 5 different English translations that are available out there. There was one actually published in 2015. Now, what I have found is that most versions that you'll find in a store are only the first volume of Tale of Genji.
Okay.
Which is the first 6th of the...
Is that what you read?
The entire book. And that's what I finished reading,
okay.
Although I have a version that is all 6 volumes. And it is long. And I have... My feelings on the book are that it is beautifully written, and just as... at least my translation is, and just as sort of English language poetry, it's a good read in that way. Although Genji himself, I find to be a detestable, he's an awful human being. He's terrible. He keeps on having these affairs. He's never fulfilled, and then he kidnaps this little girl, raises her as like his daughter to become his wife, rapes her, and then when Aoi, his wife, dies at the end of volume 1, that's the only time he ever feels remorse for her, and it's the only time he's like, oh wow, I should have cared about this woman more.
Yeah.
And I just fucking hate him, and I cannot. I don't see anything great about.
So
Genji
it's hard
himself.
for you to accept this cultural thing, then.
Yes,
as is. I mean, did he do anything that was worthwhile? Like
he contemplated life.
So he was.
So there was an artistic, aesthetic thing going on there that was interesting.
Okay.
But to me, story-wise, in that first volume, I think Genji should die in a pit. And I think he does. I think at the end of the novel...
Oh, he does die in a pit?
He doesn't die in a pit. But I think at the end of the novel, he does die, ultimately unfulfilled from what I've read. And then the novel keeps going. Like the last 6th of the book is about 2 other people that were related to him.
Oh, that's interesting.
And apparently the book ends in mid-sentence.
Nice. Just
yeah,
like
it's
Sopranos.
bizarre. Yeah, it's just like Sopranos. Look at that.
Yeah, perfect.
It just never ends.
Yeah, Sopranos.
Everybody has these torrid affairs. They're all fucking each other in many different ways.
This is Tony Soprano. It carried over to Western culture. It carried over. Look, it's the ultimate story, clearly.
So it's an important thing with Japanese literature. I think people who might have been wondering where the Genji armor came from and why it's always repeated in these games, maybe they didn't know where it was from. So that's what I got for you guys. We do have some questions, I believe, Schweiss.
Yeah, so the abridged version of this episode is Joe read a book and had to talk about it somewhere.
I did have to talk about it somewhere. I promised months ago that I was reading this thing and that we would talk about it.
All right. Well, we do have... I don't know if this is really a question. It's more like story time, so I'm not even going to play the question jingle for this. This is Shinru. He sent us a 15-minute thing that I've only listened to like half of, so let's check it out.
Oh, thank you for the news, Shinru.
Yes.
Hello, Ultima Final Fantasy. This is Shinryu speaking.
Oh, boy.
And yes, I said Shinryu, since that's how you correctly pronounce my name, but there's no problem with the way you guys been pronouncing it for over 2 years now. Well, I give Schweiss a pass because he never took Japanese classes, I heard. But you, Joe, I'm a little disappointed in you because you should know how to pronounce Shinryu and not Shinru. But, over time I actually enjoy the the mispronunciation of Shinryu, so that's okay. Today, I
good.
have a question and a story for you guys.
Oh, I guess there is a question. Sorry.
So,
Question
first,
and a
I'm
story.
going to tell this small story that happened to me about a week and a half ago. It involves Final Fantasy, so it's still on topic with the podcast and everything. So, let's get started. Basically, I was, browsing Craigslist, looking for some Final Fantasy games that were being sold in my area. And you know how Craigslist is, it's full of ads and like weirdos and who knows who's selling stuff. You could show up at some place and just get stabbed by random people. I mean, you hear about these crazy stories on the news of people getting like mugged or beaten up just by going to pick up like some random video game items. So I come across this seller that's selling Final Fantasy
I've never
IV,
heard that story.
the Nintendo DS version, which is the 3D version that Caleb Craig played for your review. I remember both of you guys playing in. I think, Joe, you played the PSP version and Schweiss played the PlayStation 1 version, whereas Caleb Craig played the very hard and difficult Nintendo DS remake. So, kind of feel bad for him there. Okay, maybe I shouldn't feel bad for him, but I already owned Final Fantasy IV DS, but this version of FF4 was the European version, which has alternate cover artwork, and European cases are actually thicker than the North American cases of DS games. So the American DS cases are black and thin, whereas the European cases for Nintendo DS games are transparent and thick, because they include a booklet that's like multi-language. I think it has like German, Spanish, French, English, and Italian probably. So yeah, it has 5 languages in the manual. So it was pretty cheap. It was like $12 or something, and he had other items for sale, and he said like contact me, I'll tell you what else I have on sale at the moment. So I contact this guy, don't hear anything back for one day. The next day I get up, email, open it, he's like, yeah, sure, we can meet, my house is like over here, and he starts giving like explanations on like where to find his house, and I'm like, no, like immediately like shut down. I am not going to your house, man. Like, I don't know you, this is like some random site on the internet. For all I know, you're like waiting to like mug me or something, like steal my kidneys. So I call him because he gives me his like phone number. So I call him, and it sounds like some 35-year-old guy on the line, so at least it wasn't some like crazy old dude or something. But he's like, yeah, my house is over here, and he starts repeating the same thing he said in his message. So I tell him, hey, if your house is near there's actually like a mall with like a video game store, kind of like a GameStop or whatever. How about we just meet in front of there? We can do like the trade, or you bring your games, I bring the money, you can show me in front of this game shop, we can meet there. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So we decide to meet like 6 hours later, in like the afternoon. So I arrived there like 1 minute before our meetup time, and I just couldn't find him, so I go inside the game store, and as I'm leaving, like I went in just to look around for like 30 seconds. And as I'm leaving, I see this guy like approach, and he immediately just looks at me, and he's like, oh, he says my name. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me.
Shinru.
So I walk up to him, and he like immediately pulls out of his pocket like the Nintendo DS case. Like, I don't know how you can have pockets huge enough to fit Nintendo DS games in it, but he just pulls it out. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. And he's like, yeah, and I have more games and stuff if you want to come to my house. And I'm like,
you want to get in my van?
Okay,
I'm also
yeah,
looking
sure.
for my dog.
You know how like creeps or whatever with like kids will be like, yeah, I have candy right here for you. Want to go back to my van? There's like a lot more where that came from. sort of like enticing me to go back to his house.
Yeah, we know all about
So I'm like, okay, sure, whatever, man.
These episodes don't make
So
themselves.
I head over. I walk with him. His house is like 2 minutes away, he says. So we're just walking there. He's like dressed, well, the typical gamer stereotype, I guess. Khaki brown shorts.
He's got a neck
well, maybe they
beard.
were beige or whatever.
Yeah, I've never worn khaki brown shorts, but
He was
all
wearing, like,
right.
flip-flops.
Never.
Flip-flops with like socks.
Flip flops
Now-
with socks.
Who do
I'm
you
not gonna
hang
fault
out
the guy
with,
for wearing
man?
Flip-flops and socks. But I mean, he was near his house. I guess he just got out and
That's no
decided to like walk just
excuse.
2 minutes to meet me. But I'm pretty sure you guys don't wear flip-flops and socks, and
No.
neither do I. So I thought that was kind of strange, but whatever. So we head over to his house. We're talking about video games on the way over there. He's a fan of Final Fantasy, sort of. He's only played like the original 8 games.
And
He
then
kinda
it was
gave up
Crinitol.
after 9 came out.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we finally reach his house. It's like it's a nice house. He opens the door. We go in. I'm like walking behind him the whole way, like getting ready to bolt just in case, like if I hear or see anything suspicious.
See
I'm
the
like,
rag.
out of there.
You just put it towards your
So
face.
we're walking up slowly.
Coming through the basement.
He gets his door. He like opens it. I get inside his house. I immediately like look around because it's dark. I'm to see if there's anyone else in this place. And then I see his like living room, and it's full of video games. Like this guy's like a collector. Like he probably has, like I'm a collector too, sort of, but this guy has like glass cases to like hold his like expensive games in. Like I'm talking like he has like some serious collectible items and things in here. Like he collects Nintendo mostly. And he was just showing me what he collects, and he's like, yeah, look at this. This is like a special edition Mario Game Boy Advance,
Do you have any
and this one
friends?
is
I need
right here.
friends
It's like
too.
for
Yeah. And then the
this
people
the
collection.
anniversary of the NES and stuff like that. And I'm
Ever
like,
wonder
cool,
what happened to
I
the
have this
gooch?
Actually, oh yeah, this one's awesome. Oh, I remember playing this game as a kid.
He's in a
yeah.
fucking tube.
So like going back and forth, and like we keep talking and stuff, and then he finally like, okay, here, I'm gonna show you the rest of the games that I have. So he's like taking me around. He has like games hidden all over the house. Like he has like some in his like kitchen cupboard, which I thought was extremely weird. I was like, you have games in your kitchen cupboard? Who does that? And he's like, yeah, I don't have any other room anywhere else. Like I need stuff, and I need space, and I put things in cabinets. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Put the
So
fucking
I'm looking.
game in the
He has like
cabinet.
about all the Final Fantasy games, sealed. He hasn't opened them. So, and since they're sealed, he's like, oh yeah, for like Final Fantasy XIV, I need like $100. I'm like, I'm cool, man, I'm cool. I already have Final Fantasy XIV, black label and everything. He's like, oh, okay. So he's showing me like lots of games for the DS. Some of them he was trying to get rid of, and I wasn't really interested in because they were kind of shovelware titles, things like Pets and like Imagine Babies and games like that, that for little kids that no one wants. And I was just admiring his collection and stuff. We talked a lot about upcoming games. He mostly plays retro games though. He's really into Nintendo stuff, like I said before. And this whole time,
then he
I was,
whipped it out.
getting a little
Yeah.
bit more comfortable, and all
Then
of a
I
sudden
noticed
he's
the
like,
massive
okay,
boner.
I have all of my collection in my room. You want to come back here? I'll take you to my room. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like going with him to his room. I'm like clenching my fist like the whole time I'm going, like in my
I would have
pocket or
been
whatever.
clenching
Like,
something else.
if this guy like tries to jump me or something once I'm in
Clench
his
those
room, I'm
cheeks.
gonna have to like beat him up or something and just get out of there. Like I already looked where the exits were when I came in, so I'm like, okay, I know exactly what to do. And
Gonna
we
be
get to his
like, don't
room,
breathe. Everything's
and
locked.
I see him like
Yeah.
going behind the shelves and stuff and like pulling things out what looks like to be plastic bags. And I'm like, oh man, what is this? And then it's just like a bunch of games that he sealed away in like cases to keep them away from dust and stuff. So I'm like, cool. So he's showing me like more
And then he hits me
DS
across the
games
head.
and things like that. Actually, I
Wake up in the
found
mall.
another Final Fantasy game that I needed. It's the Japanese version of Final Fantasy VII, so I picked that
Money
one
is
up.
this- from what I can
He
tell,
was actually
this guy
selling it
has
cheap because the
games
Japanese
everywhere.
version
Yeah.
of FF7 on PS1 is actually cheaper than the North American version for some reason. I guess it's not that sought after. So, pick that up for cheap as well.
Because America's better.
It's not
Told him,
mobile.
okay, yeah, I'm
That
willing to
too,
buy
yeah.
this.
They're mobile.
It's like, okay.
Crazed.
So we head back out to where his living room was, and then all of a sudden he's like, hey, do you smoke? And I'm like, nah, not really, I'm okay. So then he immediately pulls out this, like, huge, I'm talking, like, 10-inch bong from behind like a desk or something. I'm like, oh man, what is this?
Yeah, he ain't gonna
And
hurt you.
he like lit it, and then he like hit this bong, and I'm not joking, like this guy was probably like a huge stoner. Like I was just sitting
Where
and
does he get all this money for these games?
when like
he sells
these
probably,
like
I
super
don't
stoner
know.
dudes or whatever, like they inhale for like 10 seconds or something, and then they just hold it. Like they hold it. This dude was like holding it for like 30 seconds or something, and I'm like, whoa. And he like lets it out, and it just blows all over the room onto my clothes and like everything, and I'm like, oh man, I have to go out later. People are gonna think I'm like baked or something. I'm like, I don't do drugs or stuff like that. So I was like, oh man, this sucks. So I'm just there chilling, like relaxing, like, yeah, this is okay and stuff. He's like, oh yeah, my neighbors are all cool with it. Yeah, they're cool. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need to go soon anyway.
Probably not,
He's like,
but-
okay, chill. So I talked to him a little bit and he was like starting to talk a lot slower than he was earlier. And I don't know, I must have talked to him for like about 10 minutes. And then I'm like, I need to pay, I need to go somewhere. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. He's like, we had a great conversation. He's like, I don't have a lot of these, so I'm gonna give you like, I'm gonna give you like a price cut on all the stuff. And he basically like gave me some of the stuff for like about 30% less than we was gonna sell it all. So I was like, hey, yeah, sure, man. So I gave him the money, bought it, and just left. And it was a really odd experience because, first off, I don't usually use Craigslist or other sites like that to meet people to buy things, especially FF related stuff. I usually go in person to stores or I buy them online. But it's kind of funny just how you find FF fans, or sort of FF fans, in the strangest places. And this guy wasn't the biggest FF fan, but he has played most of the earlier games, and he does own all the current games sealed for his collection. So he has like a lot of FF games that he has never played. So I was talking to him about stuff like Revenant Wings and stuff like that, and he's like, I never played it, but yeah, I have it. I'm like, okay. So just be careful if any of you guys out there, I know UFF listeners, if you guys plan on buying anything on Craigslist, it's probably best to take a friend with you or a weapon if it's legal where you live, because oh man, it's kind of intense, because you think like it's just gonna be like a regular
Pokemon
person
game.
when you don't know people and they're strangers. You always think the worst, like, is this person some serial killer? Is this person like actually who they say they are? It's not just like catfishing or stuff like that. Like some of these people could seriously like be dangerous. So just be careful out there, guys. This was a funny experience just because I got a cool game out of it.
Yeah, from
And it was sort of a funny story. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And now for my question.
Finally.
Joe and Caleb, have you guys ever had a strange experience with a stranger involving Final Fantasy
In a rag.
or games in general, or maybe not having to do with games? Like, have you guys ever gone somewhere that you didn't know anyone, or had to meet some stranger in some place to buy something, and you both were a little bit on edge because you didn't know each other, you didn't know if the other one was either a criminal, they didn't know if you were a criminal, you didn't know if they were a criminal? These things are common, so I'm curious to see if you guys have a story similar to the one I had, where it turned out to be fine, but you were kind of on edge meeting.
But you were kind of thinking you were going to get raped at any second.
Well, that's it for this time. Remember, everyone, UFF rocks. Shinryu out.
Well, when you grow up on the streets like me,
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some hairy. No, man. I think the weirdest experience I've had, and I might have talked about it on the show before, especially with Final Fantasy games, was just there was one guy who was always playing Final Fantasy at his house, and I would always deliver pizza to him as a pizza delivery.
Did you tell him about the show?
I never told him
come
about
on!
the show. Dude, I was like... there was part of me that thought that he might be a listener because he was into Final Fantasy so much.
Yeah.
And so I was like afraid to be like, hey, so...
Oh, you should have just been like, hey, there's this great podcast out there if you like Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I listened to it. It's pretty good. It's called Ultima.
Maybe. Anyway, he was playing Final Fantasy IX, and he was playing it a lot. I could hear the fucking soundtrack coming through his window. It was like so fucking loud. And then he came up, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good game. And he's like, yeah, it is. And then we talked about Final Fantasy for a while, and he fucking hated 13.
Oh, yeah.
Hated it. And I was playing 13 at the time. And I was like, well, I thought it was all right.
Yeah, and he's like, no, shut the fuck up, pizza guy.
He was pretty much that way.
Don't you say shit about that being all right,
That was pretty much the attitude. And also his place smelled like weed a lot of the times that I went over there. So maybe there's a connection with weed.
And gaming.
And gaming. Oh, yeah, there is a connection between weed and gaming.
That's why I'm so good in shooters, because I'm not high, and I can actually do it. Although, I reach...
So you do get drunk a lot.
I reach these pinnacles of, like, where I'm kind of drunk, and I get really good. And then when I start to get really drunk, then it starts to, like, kind of fall a little bit. So there's, like... there's a superpower involved with altering your state. And I truly believe in. Although, I don't know... For the Mary Jane, I don't know if that's the same, but have I had anything like that? I don't think so. It is weird though. It's weird when you find people that are into the same thing as you, but they are like completely opposite of everything that you are. It's strange. It's like, how can you like Final Fantasy and I like Final Fantasy? You live...
It brings us together, Schweiss.
Apparently, but you know what I'm saying, though? Like, it's this guy that Shinryu talked to is everything that I'm not, it sounds like. And yet we both play games. We both do the same thing. It's crazy. I think after a while, when you're hanging out with a certain group of people and you're in these environments, you almost assume that everyone's like you. And this is a cool example of, it's not always the case. There's plenty of people that are down with the gaming and with the Final Fantasy. And I've only sold one thing on Craigslist, and it was a copy of Far Cry Primal. And that's a safe game to sell because normal people play Far Cry, right? And it went fine. Like, I even gave the guy a discount because I made him wait forever because I left the copy. I forgot I loaned it to Joe, and I tore my house apart looking for it. I'm like, where the fuck is Primal at? I want to sell this thing because I platinumed the game. I'm probably never going to play it again. I'll just play another Far Cry. And I was like, finally dawned on me that it was over at Joe's, and I went and sold it to him for like $5 less because I'm like, sorry, I wasted your time. And it was fine. He was a normal dude. He wasn't high. He didn't try to take me back to his house.
He wasn't like, do you...
I'm like, do I what? So I'm kind of slow when it comes to people, trying to get the Schweistercock. And
okay.
Yeah, like
Caleb Craig was on you for forever.
Yeah, it took him years to get into my pants, and it's just an example of... just one of the many examples of that taking place. But no, it's crazy, and I'm glad that nothing bad happened to you. For a minute there, I was gonna suggest that you take this story to the police, but I guess now it's fine, Shinru. So yeah,
how the fuck does that guy get money though to get his?
Dude, I can't. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
I don't. Well, maybe there's some high functioning, big bong guys. I don't.
Well, there can be. My aunt and uncle were like meth heads, and they worked.
Yeah, did they?
Yeah, they. Had
we had this conversation before. You're right.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I guess it depends on you.
I have only ever met super lazy, super losery people who smoke marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know my experience is limited. I do live in Utah, and it's
So there's 3 people.
not that cool here.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of friends growing up that smoked weed.
Oh,
And
really?
you know what they all are now? Fucking losers.
Wow.
All of them. Not a single one has. One got into like hard drugs later on, and now he's in recovery and all that other stuff. Now that's only one of them. The rest just smoke weed still, but they just do nothing. It took my friend till he was like 25 to move out of the house, and he was just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've never seen like someone be like a high functioning. Maybe they have to be the type of person who's like on speed normally, and then they just have to mellow out.
Yeah, maybe.
On weed, I guess. I don't smoke weed, so
Yeah.
what do I know?
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
I don't like it. So we do have a question, voice recording question. So let's see if this is the right one.
Hey, Caleb and Joe, it's the Game and Asian Cajun, the One Nation. And my question
Which
for y'all
one are
today
you?
is, whenever you rank your games, I know that y'all are getting pretty close to done with 11 here. Whenever you rank the games, though, and you think about, well, I like this game a little bit more for this reason, and vice versa, what usually weighs a little bit more for y'all? For example, I know there was an episode a while back where the doctor guy asked y'all about rating based on characters, story, music, and all that. But, do you ever play a game and you think, wow, I really rank like Final Fantasy X, for example, lower because maybe you're not a fan of Tidus? Or maybe you rank 12, in Caleb's case, because of the gameplay. You just absolutely love the gameplay, love doing all the hunts. So I'm really curious about this because I think with some of these spin-offs coming up and the sequels and everything, I'm really curious to see where y'all rate things, because there's certain games that, I really think spin-off-wise and sequel-wise that actually compete with some of the main series as far as fun factor, story, characters, and all that stuff.
Welcome to the fun factor.
Hope y'all are having a great day, enjoying the podcast, and enjoy the grind. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much, Asian Cajun Streamin' Nation.
Yeah. The one-man wrecking crew. Honestly, for me and Joe, I know this is the same. Story weighs a lot. I mean, it's a Final Fantasy game. The story is supposed to be a big part of it. Now, admittedly, a lot of their stories are kind of convoluted and don't really make sense in many ways, like FF10.
No.
But still great. Still awesome. Still, it leaves things open, and I love that. I love things being open for interpretation and even maybe having some plot holes at times. But honestly, as long as the story is engaging,
needs to be emotionally engaging.
Yeah.
Not so much intellectually engaging. I don't know if that's as important. It's certainly, I think, 10 only falls apart if you think about it really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think otherwise it works.
Yeah, it does. And then also gameplay. I mean, Final Fantasy V story is not fantastic. It's only good in the last third, I would say.
And most of the Final Fantasies are. Most of them that aren't great pick up at that point.
Yeah, that's true. And
so far,
the gameplay in 5 is so good that 5 just
it's
is
amazing.
Above others. So, I mean, it's kind of a fluid thing with me. If the gameplay is so fucking good that I don't care that I have to suffer through Snow and the kid.
Vanille and Hope.
Jesus. I try to block it out sometimes. It suffer through their little, angsty battles. It's fine because the gameplay is so fun. I love the speed. I love how different it is. I can make it through it if the gameplay picks it up. So it really depends on the game, and there are those that lack in both categories, and those are the ones that are disappointing. And they're still fun though. Like, they're still good games to a certain extent. So I totally buy into the idea that some of these spin-offs can be better, or at least comparable to the main series games. There are certain things that just come into play. Nomura has been a big part of the Final Fantasy games, but now he's not on 15, and the guy who's on 15, Tabata, made Crisis Core. So clearly they have a lot of faith in this guy, and they're willing to put him in charge of a mainline game. So I don't see why the other directors of these spin-offs can't have the same sort of opportunity or the same abilities. Just because you're not the main man doesn't mean you can't make a good game. Is essentially what I'm getting at here.
We made our rating system on Nude Clan sort of based upon what we do here. I mean, here we kind of compare it to other games in the series because that's the show it is.
Yeah, that's the point.
But I mean, we always talked about gameplay, we always talked about story, and almost as like the two big things that are even.
Yeah.
And then we also have sound and music, and then we have the look of the game, or what we call design, and then we have replayability, which is a new thing we put for Nude Clan.
Right.
To me, weighing those 5 things together, I think gives you a pretty well-rounded view of any game. And
yeah.
I like what we've done with our Nude Clan rating system.
Yeah, it's really solid, I think.
And so, but it's kind of how we've been, I think, at least discussing the Final Fantasy games when we get to a review.
Yeah, maybe not the replayability part.
Not the replayability, but the other parts.
But yeah, everything else is sort of the algorithm that we have in our own minds to, okay, which game is better to us. And it really does depend, though. There are certain aspects of 12 that I absolutely love. It's in my top 4, but the story, not my top 4 at all. And the story is like the biggest thing. So honestly, if the story of 12 were as good as the story of 10, it might be my number 1. But it isn't, so it can't. So it's like a give and take thing with how we rank these. So I look forward to all the spinoffs. I look forward to having a game that challenges the main series lineup. Has there been a game so far that you've liked spinoff-wise more than a main series game?
Well, more than FF1, yeah, probably.
Yeah, After Years? Yeah, I think After Years is more fun.
After Years is very good.
Crisis Core might have been more fun. The late game stuff in Crisis Core, I don't ever want to play again because it just becomes the same thing. Go look through the dungeon until you find the last guy, fight him, and then you get to another dungeon.
At least it's a nice short game.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking like trying to grind out for
for your stuff.
The ultimate boss fight.
You're right.
It's disgusting.
No, yeah, I'm excited to get. I'm excited to get to 13 too, which I've heard from a lot of people that it's better than 13.
Yeah, it improves on a lot of things, including the one gameplay aspect that I can't stand. Everyone just huddling around the tank, fucking morons. But that's something that apparently they fixed, so I'm excited. And I know nothing about 13.2 essentially. Like I know there's a chocobo something chick that's like almost naked, which I'm looking forward to, and then there's something with time. I don't know, maybe that's 13 the Lightning Returns, but it's like a complete unknown to me, and that's, I don't know, I'm excited to get more into that as we continue the show, because for the most part I've played some of each game that we've gone into.
Do we have any iTunes reviews, Schweiss? Thank
do.
You very much for the questions and the stories, Shinru, and
yeah, and also
Asian Cajun.
Yeah, once again, thank you a ton for the news. We really appreciate it, Shinru. But we do have a review, thank God. God damn it. iTunes. iTunes. Such a reviews. All right, this is a 5-star review titled Great Podcast by 500 for your fan club. It says, it's nice hearing an homage.
You're trying to screw up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way to fuck it up to piss you off.
Say homage.
It's nice hearing a homage to the fandom from people that have a sense of humor about themselves. I've seen some of the less favorable...
Schweiss does not have a sense of humor about himself.
I do too.
He has a sense of humor about me.
Well, it's I choose...
himself.
Look, I'm like electricity. I have an easier... I go for the easiest thing. It's easier to...
Path of least resistance?
Path of least resistance,
Okay.
yeah. It's easier to mock you or mock you mocking me.
All right.
I've seen some of the less favorable reviews on here, and it's true. These guys clearly don't always know exactly what they're talking about, but with 30 years of games to look back on, who can blame them? If you want pinpoint precision on your facts, so you can spout on about how hardcore you are, go read a wiki page, and I'll say fuck off. For everyone else who loves the FF series and a good laugh, this is an easy recommendation. Great job, guys. Keep up the good work. Now, this review... Shinru, I just want you to go back and pause the episode right now, and then go back about a minute and listen to this review again, and then pause it, and then go back another minute and one more time, and then get on us about FF11 stuff. Because he probably will still. I don't think he'll care.
All right.
It's true, though. We don't know everything, and we've only played some of these games one time, and we appreciate the fact that you're okay with that. It's not about being hardcore and like so into it that
We are. I mean, if you're when it comes to your choice in podcasts, we appreciate that you chose Ultima Final Fantasy.
We do,
Ultimate
yeah.
Final Fantasy podcast.
yes, we do.
We realize that we're not perfect, and
No.
obviously some of our listeners also realize that.
Oh yes, they do. And we do enjoy the corrections, though, so keep those coming. I mean, that's a segment that I enjoy. I want to know.
I enjoy the jingle. It's just a good opportunity to listen to that jingle. Which
Yeah.
I think may be a masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Jingle masterpiece. Schweiss, I'm not going to play the jingle for questions from us to you, but I will.
Is it the same one?
I will remind you. We need your opinions for Kingslave. if you haven't
Yes,
watched
next week, if we don't do the 11 stuff in time, we will be doing Kingsglaive. Now, we've kind of slowed it down a little, and it's not as big of a rush for the 11 stuff because we're just kind of planning on doing Revenant Wings
for
and
the
then
month before.
yeah, and then 15. That's going to be easier on Joe and myself because we're working on Emmanuel's song, a short film that you can help us out with if you'd like. And it's just going to be easier that way, and we won't feel as rushed. And 13-2, I want to get another platinum in a Final Fantasy game. I'm kind of disappointed in myself on the 10-2 escapade. I want to make up for that, so we'll have time.
Okay. Well, Schweiss, they can check out our other shows, Getting Fat with Caleb and Joe, which is currently an Emmanuel song podcast. They can check out Nude Clan, and they can check out the Godzilla podcast.
Yes, also super sexy swinging fan fiction for all of you fan fiction erotica lovers.
And you can leave us a message if you want at 385-204-3921. We're also looking for memories of Vanadil, so if you have any of those, call those in or put those on the forum. UltimaFinalFantasy.com is where you can find everything. Twitch.tv/UltimaFinalFantasy is where you can see us stream the episodes live.
YouTube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. If you don't catch the streaming live, you can follow up on it there.
Facebook.com/UltimaFinalFantasy. And
Tweet me. At UFF Podcast.
And at Joseph DeGollier. And last but not least, our Patreon.
Yes, our Patreon. Oh, shit, I forgot to pull up the new donors.
Pull them up, dude.
Well.
Whip them out.
Oh, I will.
Every time Shinru was talking about the one dude, like, pulling something out, I was like, oh, my God.
You know what's hilarious? is this one's actually from a guy who gave us a ton of shit on Nude Clan. So we have one from Hill Thing. Thank you so much. He's got a recent pledge. And then also Danzig's, the man who gave Nude Clan 2 stars because we're idiots and don't know what we're talking about, is going to be on an episode. And I'm stoked for that. This is going to be a roast, I hope. Danzig's, roast us, please.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
or we roast Joe. Either.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we just like come up with a bunch of stuff. No, really, though, that's going to be awesome. Thank you guys so much for your donations. It really goes a long ways for the show. We're currently using all the excess funds to get us down to that, or up to that KupoCon event in January.
Yep.
Things are looking pretty good. We're probably going to be able to do that, and it's going to be awesome to see some of you East Coast listeners out there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We're also going to Distant Worlds, too, so
sweet.
Hit that up. I would highly recommend it if you have the money and the means.
All right. We shall see you guys
in 1 week.
In 1 week.
But until then, enjoy the grind.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGollier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGollier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at UltimaFinalFantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.
All right, guys. Thanks for chilling with us. Yeah, we will see you again. Well, I'll probably stream some 11 on Sunday, so hang out for that. I'm going to do the Kupo Dita, the Coup, whatever the fuck it's called, and
Cooper Diete.
yeah, enjoy. We'll catch you guys later.